Welcome to enNovo Radio, your place to gather insight and wisdom for creating healthy organizations. Discover how to uncover defects in your organization and find ways to be a powerful force of change for your organization. Here's your host, David Phillips.
Hello, how are you? This is David Phillips on this edition of enNovo Radio. And I want to talk to you today about contextuality, if that's even a word, of leadership. I was doing some work for an organization and doing some research and ran across something that piqued my interest. And one of the things that I noticed in it was the contextuality of leadership. Leadership is something that happens within a specific time and place. Leadership, though there are some universal features and some universal applications, true leadership happens at a time and a place. It has a context. So it has a context with where you are, what organization you're with, the context of that organization, the context of the people in that organization, and the context with a person in that organization. So I want to talk a minute about that today. So how you lead is contextual. It's contextual in this sense. You would lead differently in a nonprofit organization than in a for-profit organization. You would lead differently in an academic institution than you would in a corporate institution. There are things you can do in a corporate setting that you cannot do in a governmental setting. It just can't happen. You can't, in government, I've worked for school systems. You have a pay scale. You don't get to negotiate your pay so much as you have a pay scale. And everybody who has the same amount of experience gets that pay scale. It's just what it is. Regardless of ability or expertise, everybody gets that same scale. In a corporate world, you can negotiate. You can negotiate things like salary. You can negotiate things like vacation, different levels of time off, different perks, those kinds of things. So taken as a whole, leadership is contextual. And so you have to understand the context in which you're leading. And that takes relationships. It takes knowing the people that you're trying to lead. It takes knowing the organization and the structure and the practices within that organization. Unless you're going to change culture, which in some cases needs to happen, when you go into a position of leadership in an organization, you go into an existing culture and you need to understand that culture. You need to understand the people who created that culture. You need to understand the dynamics of that culture. And then you need to understand the people within that culture so that you can lead them effectively. So what does that mean? I mean, pragmatically, realistically, what does it mean? Well, so there are practices that happen that are unspoken, that are not said, that differ from what's on the books. We know that. So you need to find those out. I mean, that's part of finding the culture of the organization. But you need to find those out. And then you need to find out what's actually on the books. I mean, that's important as well. But you need to spend time with people above you and people below you. The people that you're going to lead, need to get to know. You need to spend time making that investment in their lives. It is about relationships, after all. You need to spend time with people who are above you if you're not the CEO, getting to know them and getting to know how they lead and how they function and what's in their thoughts and how they process things. You need to get to know the stakeholders for your organization, including those outside the organization, be it shareholders or consumers or those for whom your service is intended. Get to know them. And when you get to know them, then you can more effectively lead them and serve them. And then what you do is once you realize the context in which you're leading, and you begin to fall on the decisions and the history and the wisdom that you've gained over the years and from others, and you make those decisions and you lead and make an investment in those people's lives. And then you also look to create avenues for them to grow and develop by breaking down barriers to that. Breaking down barriers for them so that they can do and achieve what they're striving to achieve. If they are a banker, how do you minimize the obstacles that allow them to serve their customers the best? If you're in technology, how do you provide them the resources that they need? The programming resources, for instance, the tools to help them do the best job that they can do. That's by helping them find those resources, allocating funds for those resources, saying yes to those resources, giving them everything they need to succeed. And that really is kind of the essence of what we do as leaders, right? We figure out the context and the culture in which we're existing, and then we work to break down obstacles and break down barriers to help others succeed and do the best that they can do. And when we do that, we are helping the organization succeed. We are leading. We are leading by letting others lead, and letting others execute, and letting others become the best version of themselves. And so, this is just a short, quick thought, quick podcast this week. Spend some time figuring out the culture, and spend the time figuring out the context in which you live, where you are, what you're going to do, how people do it, how people do the things, make decisions, what kind of processes and systems. Figure out the context in which your customers operate, your stakeholders operate, particularly your customers, and figure out the context and the culture of the people that you lead. And when you can bring that to the table, have that understanding, begin to know the people and lead them individually, and then lead them corporately, and break down barriers for them to be able to succeed themselves, then you've done your job. You really have. the business will grow as people succeed. And as they grow and develop, and they are empowered and equipped to blow the doors off. And when people feel a connection and a relation in that relationship, both as an employee and as a customer, then they'll be that when you can connect them to your story and when you can intersect their story, then they'll buy your service. They'll buy your product. When you make them feel important and know that they feel like you understand what they're doing, and when you make them feel like you're serving them, they'll jump all over it and move forward with you. And that's leadership. It's other things too, but it's leadership. And so spend some time doing that. Get to know your people. Get to know your customers. Get to know the markets. Build those relationships and tell a different story. Help them become the best version of themselves. And in that context, they'll grow and you'll grow. They'll grow. The business will grow. And people will succeed. But it all happens in the context of a context. Because you're not going to lead one organization like you lead another organization. It's all about context. I hope you have a great week, and I'll look forward to spending some time with you on the next Novo Radio. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Novo Radio. I really do appreciate it. If you want to take some time, I'd really appreciate it if you could go over to iTunes and maybe give a review if you like it. If you don't do that. Also, you can sign up for our newsletter at wdavidphillips.com, and you can find me on Facebook as well. Look forward to interacting with you. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening in today, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode of Powerful Insight. For more up-to-date information and tips to help you on your quest for change, head over to the website at www.wdavidphillips.com and sign up for our newsletter.